Hey there, it's Hazmi here and welcome to this Warhammer Online gearing and progression tutorial. The goal of this video is to give a very clear and concise overview of how gearing works on Return of Reckoning and what milestones exist for players throughout the entire game. After watching this guide, you will always know what you need to work towards next and where to start looking, so you don't ever feel completely lost, especially as a newer player. Keep in mind this is not meant to be a gearing bible, but a quick and simple guideline to give out basic knowledge and help you enjoy the game. For more similar guides and tutorials for Warhammer Online, feel free to check out the rest of the channel. To begin, the most important point to know is that in Warhammer Online there's two main grinds you will have to complete. First, your Renown rank, so your PvP rank, and second, the PvP currency war crests that you need for purchasing the best possible items in the game. Both of them take a fairly long time to complete, and so the player base has come up with different leveling and progression routes that we like to use in order to be more efficient with our time and resources. The second most vital piece of information is the ward system of Return of Reckoning. By pressing the K key or opening your Tome of Knowledge, you can find the Armory tab at the bottom and learn the basics of armor sets and the ward system. The summary of the system is quite simple. Gear sets unlock wards. In order to wear the next gear set you need, you first have to have completed the previous ward by equipping pieces of gear that unlock that ward. This means that there are 7 milestones you want to reach, with several set options to unlock each of them, and you will have to acquire and equip any single set or a combination of different ones until you completely fill up that ward. For example, in order to be able to wear an item from the Scout ward category, first you need to have completed the Recruit ward by wearing the boots and the chest of any of the listed item sets, so Hunter, Protector, Decimator, etc. You can also mix them, but people usually don't do that until later. Each of these items for PvP cost a lot of war crests, and the final set build you work towards will require over 10,000 war crests to purchase, which is quite a lot. And so the efficient strategy most players follow is acquiring the PvE sets of each ward from dungeons and save up as many war crests from the beginning as you can, not to mention that these PvE sets do not require PvP rank at all to wear. This is what I will be explaining in this video. The first ward to unlock will be the earlier mentioned Recruits ward, and if you've been playing the game then you probably already have unlocked it one way or another. But if not, I would recommend checking out my first steps for newcomers video that goes through the basics of starting out with Warhammer Online. These items are extremely cheap, so I usually just spend the 75 war crests for them at level 7 in the tier 1 war camps, and I'm good to enjoy low level PvP until level 15. Keep in mind there are 2 PvP sets you can purchase in the camp, one defensive and one offensive version, so make sure you check the stats before spending your crests. This is also a good tip to remember for the future. Alternatively, another great option now is to complete the level 7 PvE dungeon Dragonback Pass that you will get an in-game mail about automatically. This dungeon teaches you the basics of the game and rewards the Protector item set for Recruit ward. If interested, I do have a full guide for this dungeon as well. Once you have unlocked the Recruits ward, you are basically good until level 15, which is also the end of tier 1 and the beginner zones of Warhammer Online, as after reaching level 16, you will be bolstered up to level 40 for PvP and play against a lot more players. Worry not, as the level bolster mechanic is actually quite powerful, and despite not having all your abilities unlocked yet, you're very much able to compete against higher level players thanks to it. A very quick tip in this section is to make sure that you always equip talismans into all of your equipment, which are basically just stat gems. These also get bolstered by the system and give you the edge you need to stay relevant and powerful. I know that this will first sound like a bother compared to other MMOs, but don't be lazy about this, it's extremely important, and the same goes for using potions such as healing, armor, and primary stat elixirs. This can be the difference between having a horrible time or having fun. Now once you have reached level 15, you're already at the point to complete your very first major dungeon of the game, which are the Eldorf sewers if you're Order fighting those Skaven cults, or the Sacellum dungeons in the Inevitable City as Destruction, fighting beastmen and all kinds of monsters. For both dungeons you can pick up the starting questline at the city Flightmasters, then it will guide you to the quest hub for them as shown on the screen. At this point you will have to look for a party of players in the /5 looking for group chat, or ask a kind level 40 player to carry you. Both dungeons consist of 3 different wings, and completing every single quest for them will reward you with a full set of the Keeper set that will fully unlock the Scout Ward for you without spending any of your valuable war crests. Alternatively, you can also get a set from completing public quests around your level, or from this point on, purchase any of the available PvP armor sets in the faction capital cities and the highlighted locations. Now, the Keeper set should serve you well all the way until level 24, especially if you're using talismans, and once you reach this level, you're ready to acquire your Soldier Ward set. If you want to spend PvP currency, you can do so in the same location as mentioned with the Scout Ward, but for efficiency we once again want to save crests and choose the PvE route for the PvE sets. The Soldier Ward set most people work for is called the Mayhem Public Quest Grind, where players gather up in a party through /5 looking for group chat and look for a suitable location to complete a couple of public quests and gather the 380 war tokens to buy the PvE Mayhem gear, or even get lucky and get set pieces from golden and purple loot bags if you're lucky. To buy these PvE sets, it is a different place than the PvP vendors, as highlighted on the screen. Look for other players to help you with gathering this set, and also feel free to ask for advice which public quest to complete. Once you're done, you're happy all the way until level 34 and the Officer Ward. The Officer Ward is exactly the same situation as the Soldier Ward was, as it is also a public quest grind people choose for efficiency's sake, but at level 34. Where you will have to grind out around 612 PvE war tokens, or get lucky with gold bags and get the full Ruin set. Good news is that after this you're done with regular public quests and you won't have to bother with them again. But we're also nearing the maximum rank of 40, and that means you should also start looking for a career guide for your character and find out what gear sets you should work towards from now on, since this is the point where gear progression will start to branch out a bit. Now we've got all the way to the Conqueror Ward already, and this is also where you will want to complete your very first high-level dungeon. Technically speaking, you don't need to be level 40 for this, and you can already start looking for a group at earlier around level 36, and travel to Mount Gunbad to bash up some greenskins in the northwestern corner of the Tier 3 zone, the Badlands. Unfortunately, this is also the point where progression will start to slow down somewhat, as a single dungeon run will not be enough to complete all your quests and gather your set. But you will have to complete Mount Gunbad 3 times before all rewards are guaranteed from the quests, and these higher level dungeons also have an 18 hours lockout after completion in Warhammer Online, so it will take at least a minimum of 3 days and 3 runs to gather your full Red-Eye gear set. Make sure to gather a full group to tackle the dungeon. There will be lots of veterans willing to help, and if you need more guidance, I can fully recommend visiting the official Return of Reckoning wiki here for dungeon guides, but I will also release some as I keep working on my content. You will notice I won't be mentioning the PvP gear sets anymore, as each set at this point costs at least around 1,000 war crests, and you will want to avoid wasting that many of those at all costs and save them up for the highest level sets later. With that said, we've arrived to the Vanquisher Ward, and this is a major point of separation, so make sure you have an idea what are the best in slot sets for your career by now. So the PvE sets branch out into 3 different directions at around this part. 2 branches to acquire the Vanquisher Ward, and there's another path that has no requirements whatsoever, but also provides you no additional ward if you go for it. The Beastlord path involves acquiring the Beastlord items and Whalewalker sets that are in many cases best in slot items until endgame for certain careers, and you will want to do them before moving on with the rest of the dungeons. I don't want to overcomplicate this video by explaining the Beastlord branch here, so just know that it exists and it is an open world boss hunting questline that rewards powerful items and unlocks a unique single dungeon called Hunter's Whale. If your career guide says you need Beastlord and Whalewalker items, definitely look up a guide for them, and I will also make one later in the future. Now for the first way to unlock the Vanquisher Ward, on the other hand, we are returning to the capital cities to visit 2 other dungeons, Sigmar's Crypt in the city of Eldorf, and the Balrog Burrows in the Inevitable City. Make sure to pick up the quest for them at the highlighted map locations. Both dungeons have been recently reworked and are level 40 dungeons with advanced mechanics you should be prepared for to handle, and similarly like Mount Gunbad, you have to complete these dungeons 4 times before you receive your full Sentinel gear set and complete the Vanquisher Ward. It should be noted that the Sentinel jewelry that you acquire by doing these dungeons is also extremely important for many builds, so you don't want to miss out on the influence rewards of these dungeons. Alternatively, the Onslaught set is also here, which are currently the only raid level content that exists, so to say, with a full 24-man warband required to clear the story Chapter 22 public quests. These public quests are quite challenging and require a lot of people, so organizing or finding groups for them is not easy. If you need these items, it is recommended to join an active guild and socialize so you can enjoy these warbands, but these item sets and public quests definitely deserve a video of their own. And finally, we have arrived to the last ward needed to unlock for progression, and that is the Invader's ward. The easiest way to unlock it is the final and hardest dungeon available at the creation of this video, which is the Bastion Stair of Khorne rewarding the Bloodlord set. The entrance and quest to this dungeon are located in the southeastern corner of the Tier 4 zone, Chaos Wastes. Bastion Stair can be quite long and arduous dungeon for unprepared or undergeared groups due to its many bosses and mechanics. Therefore, I once again recommend looking up a guide and/or reading the Warhammer Online Wikipedia for strategies for it. To complete all the dungeon quests, just enter Bastion Stair and every available task will be there inside the dungeon, but you will have to defeat all bosses 4 times before you're guaranteed to get all the rewards, and remember, there's an 18 hours lockout on Bastion Stair too. Once you have completed your Bastion Stair quests and gathered all of the Bloodlord set, you have officially completed the Invader ward and every single ward available in Warhammer Online. Meaning, you can purchase any and all sets available in the game, including the highest level Sovereign sets that have an offensive and defensive version, or the Warlord gear sets. All 3 of these are located in the Lord's castles of their faction capitals of Altdorf and the Inevitable City. And with that said, we've also come to the end of this guide of what I believe to be the most time and resource efficient method of gearing up in Warhammer Online and complete all the gear progression. I try to make it as concise and easy to understand as possible, since it's aimed at everyone but especially newer players just starting out. If you watched the full video, make sure to comment "wow" at the end of it so that I know you've been here, and if you have any questions, also post them below. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to check out the rest of the channel for more Warhammer Online content, and don't forget to like and subscribe for future videos and news about Return of Reckoning. Thank you for watching everyone, and I'll see you the next time.